Hey, so a little bit of a story here. Also, I just had family over, so I didn't want to do any sort of major videos today. But this one was on the top of my mind a few minutes ago. I don't even know what I was searching for, to be honest. But I was reminded of a handful of years ago, kind of when people were stuck inside for a while. A lot of people, chose that time to get back into old hobbies. Other people chose that time to clean and get rid of things. And it was a very good time to get old Bionicle sets. And it's not so good now, but in this time, I ended up actually picking up a pretty decent sized lot. I think it was about 16 sets plus a handful of extra pieces for $15, which is already insane. But one thing from this specifically that caught my mind, just made me laugh, was I ended up actually picking up this lot, and in there was parts to a Liwa Fantoka. I don't know which version of him, but suffice to say, it was essentially the torso and hip assembly, as well as one of the arms, and so I decided, oh, okay, cool. I will go ahead and throw these parts in my parts bin, whatever, take it apart. And so I fully expected this lime green socket on the shoulder there to break. It's 2008, it's lime green. We already know that's bad enough, but surprisingly, the socket didn't break. That torso's no more, though. I did not expect this. I still have it around somewhere, and I wish I could remember because I really want to show you guys, but it's kind of hilarious. I now have this little trophy of a 2008 lime green joint with the remnants of a TOA body stuck inside of it. A socket that has taken down the TOA, and it's hilarious. So I honestly find it kind of fascinating, but it made me wonder for a few minutes, how did these fragile pieces go under Lego's radar for so long? Because Lego as a company is really well known for their quality and for their, when something does go wrong, they're honestly usually the first people to get on top of it and rectify the problem, right? And so when I was thinking to myself, it's very likely that when they were prototyping the Baraki and things like that, that they just did so with joints that existed at the time. And I'm even going to substantiate this further by saying that the Elec sockets are not always fragile, at least from my experience. Here's the thing. From what I can tell, all Holly sets contain fragile lime green sockets, but every socket that appears in that set had appeared previously. Lego very likely prototyped with those older, stronger sockets. Makes sense? I don't know why they wouldn't play test the sets upon release, but, it's whatever. The Elec sets, however, did come with a brand new socket that did not exist previously with this lime green socket here. And I think that's maybe the reason Lego didn't catch it with this set specifically, is because I've actually had pretty decent luck with Elec sets. Not all of them. I do have some Elec sockets that are cracked, though none have ever fully broken for me, thankfully. However, I do also have sets of these sockets specifically that have never cracked, including this one here, which is the one I have been using for all of these combination models that I've been doing, which is why I've been able to do this so freely. I don't feel worried about this piece because it works fine. It works the way you would expect. So I don't know how common or uncommon that is, of course, but that fascinates me either way. So the thing about 2007 is lime green is obviously the color that has the most reputation, but it's not the only color from that year that is fragile. Blue, Mata blue specifically, is another one, and that color is, though not prominent on the Gdanka set, it is featured there in a pair of sockets in the neck, as well as some Hordika arms. There are a couple of lift arms in the set as well. Don't have too many issues with those, but they're not usually under the same kinds of stress as these pieces. Those sockets, however, can crack on occasion, but I have way worse luck with the Hordika arms in that set on the shoulder. And it's such a strange recolor, to be honest. I would have honestly thought that Lego would have recolored the torso armor in that Mata blue, because it's a more just striking piece in general. It's a large chunk of that abdomen, whereas those arms are just arms that existed in dark blue already. So it's surprising to me that they would recolor it, or black even if they wanted to use that as well, which is a color that is also featured on that set. So it's interesting. But yeah, we obviously live in the reality we do. And so Gdanka unfortunately did get some fragile Hordika arms. It is something I have plenty of experience with. Thankfully, I have a set of them that are okay at the very least, but I do treat them quite carefully. But yeah, so the reason I bring this up specifically is clearly at some point during 2007, Lego got headwind. Is that the saying? Lego was made aware that the lime sockets from the Holly set at the very least were breaking, right? And that's very clearly why they redesigned the socket. But then you had to think that piece would have been play tested, right? There's no reason not to play test that one because it's a brand new piece. So Lego had to have run across the problem where those pieces were breaking more, because now suddenly it wasn't just lime green sockets and blue sockets and white sockets that were breaking, but it was all sockets across the board. If they featured that 2008 style, they broke, right? At some point, maybe not the first time you use them, but you would think that Lego would want to stress test this. Because here's the thing. That lime green from 2007 didn't break because of this design. This design was proven to work. It had worked before. It did not always work. This is also found in the Vizon and Finrak set in gunmetal, and those pieces are also particularly fragile. So it did not always work, but when it worked well. Clearly, something about 2007 changed the plastic, and that's the problem I think they ran into. And rather than mitigate that, and I can understand this for a few reasons, I'll get into that. Rather than address the type of plastic that was being used or the new formula of lime, whatever the case it was, they opted to redesign the piece instead, and that's what introduced the problems. So here's why I think they didn't try to fix it. Because CCBS has this same problem as well. There are many CCBS sockets that I have used over the years that also crack over time, especially just being assembled, not even using or playing with the piece, stressing the piece, but just having it built on a model. And I think it's because I don't think Lego was going to introduce a new plastic solely for Bionicle's sake, right? And if they were reverting from an older formula to a newer formula in 2007 for whatever reason, they had no reason to go back, because I don't think Bionicle would be what spurred that change in the first place, right? And Lego is first and foremost a system-based company, right? Bionicle is something that's a side project for them in 2008. It's big, sure, but it's not the main seller for them by any means, at least not across the board, right? Does Bionicle outsell some themes? Sure. Does Bionicle outsell all of the rest of Lego, though, in 2008? No, I don't think so. And so it makes me think that this change that was being made specifically for system pieces, and because Bionicle also used that same plastic, that's where we ran into the issues, right? And rather than Lego say, okay, we're going to introduce a new plastic, but just for Bionicle sockets, they just thought, you know what? Redesign the piece, see if it works. Doesn't work, okay, whatever, end it, right? Obviously, there are other things that led to this too. I don't think 2008 was a particularly strong year. It wasn't the weakest by any means, but I think the Mystica especially really kind of dragged the year down, and especially following a year like 2007. There are a lot of things I respect about the Mystica, don't get me wrong, but 2007 was a honest high point of the Ignition trilogy, or even honestly from 2006 to 2009. I really think that 2009 can rival it if you take out the sockets. But 2007 introduced a lot of really interesting aspects to the story, to the builds, to the aesthetic of Bionicle that I think 2006 tried to touch on but couldn't master, and years after that never quite were never given really the same opportunity to do so. That's my point. So yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I thought it was a funny little story at the very least. Again, I have to find that piece. That's got... If I find it, I'm making a community post. You guys will see it. It's going to be nailed to the wall or something, you know? Like, I need to find it because it's so good. I love it. And it's funny, too, because there are people that watch this channel that aren't into Bionicle, and they're going to have no idea what that is. But I think it's a lovely little thought either way. So I actually thought of something here, too, which I find kind of hilarious. I can't stream currently. I just don't have the resources to do so. My internet's not the best in the world, so it doesn't really allow for me to stream without too much delay, let's say. But I thought about doing a stream here in the future, talking about designing and maybe even going through design on camera, where during the stream I would also be... So here's the idea. right? It's just a funny little thing, right? There are a lot of streams out there that you can go and watch that say, you know, I stream until this happens. And so my thought was, I go on Bricklink or wherever else, buy just a whole buttload of these in lime green, basically playing Russian roulette with lime green sockets. And I just start assembling them on stream until one breaks. And when one breaks, that's the end of the stream. I don't know. I thought it was a silly idea. It's goofy. I love it though. It's so meta for Bionicle specifically. And again, for people that watch me that aren't into Bionicle, that have no idea what that is, I think it's just all the more charming because of that. But that's pretty much it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I'm going to go just enjoy myself and take a little time off, and hopefully you guys are enjoying yourself too. I'm gonna learn how to speak English, and yeah, you can check out my Instagram, Discord, and Patreon in the description if you want to support the channel. And of course, as always, make sure you subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Good Lord.